Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Battle Stadium singles video here on iStarly TV. It's been a little while. I know I haven't posted anything in a few days, but of course it's the holidays. You know, we had Christmas and then I'm off work and school and stuff, so it's just been, you know, I've just been really lazy kind of doing things, and I've had some things come up as well that, you know, I've been really busy and lazy at the same time. And the New Year's is of course coming up, so Happy New Year to everyone. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I've been thinking a lot about this, you know, with the upcoming rule set change coming at the beginning of January, BSS Regulation F, with a lot of new Pokemon. I wanted to make another video here where I'm showing off Pokemon, 5 Pokemon I think are going to be very good in this new format. These are 5 Pokemon that I'm really looking forward to using. Some of them definitely look really strong, and they've been strong in the past. Some of them I'm not really sure about, but they look like they have a lot of potential, so let's talk about them. And this is in no particular order, so I'm just going to kind of talk about 5 different Pokemon here with a few example sets. As you can see, the first Pokemon I'm starting with is Excadrill. And so Excadrill is a Pokemon that has proven itself in the past. I think it's been really strong ever since it made its debut in Gen 5. It's been really strong, and I think even in Gen 8 it was a pretty good Pokemon to use. I think especially because of Mimikyu. Excadrill has access to Mold Breaker, and it also has really good stats. Let's take a look at its stats actually while we're talking about it. It has a really high attack stat as well as a really great typing. Like offensively and defensively, Steel and Ground is a really solid typing. And as far as defense goes, its HP is really huge, and then its defense and special defense honestly are not very good, but the fact that it has such a high HP stat kind of balances that out and kind of makes it so that its defense and special defense are better than they look because of its HP stat. And then of course it has 88 base speed, which is not amazing, but that is serviceable. Like, that does outspeed pretty much every bulky Pokemon out there, so that's pretty good to note. The funny thing is though, it is slower than most of pretty much every offensive Pokemon in the game. You know, it's slower than Urshifu, which is a big deal. It's slower than Mimikyu. It's slower than Fluttermane, Qianpao, etc. I do think it's faster than Goldango though, which is actually pretty important. But anyway, the speed stat's a little awkward, but often just going max attack and max speed is just enough. If you want to go more tanky though, you're welcome to. I guess if you want to just have enough speed to outspeed Goldango, that's important. But otherwise you could go just max HP, max speed probably, and be fine with it. Especially with this set here. This is kind of the first set that I'm kind of brainstorming. And as always with these Pokemon, I have a couple example sets with each of them, but and a lot of these sets I'm going to try out myself, but there's a lot of flexibility with these Pokemon as far as EVs, Terra types, items, etc. So the moveset I have here is Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin, Iron Head, and Earthquake. I guess something I forgot to mention is Rapid Spin got a new buff as of, I think, Gen 8, where it's actually 50 base power now, which is not great, but the biggest buff that it has now is, in addition to removing like Stealth Rock from your side of the field and spikes and everything, it boosts your speed as well. So kind of interesting. So the fact that Excadrill doesn't have amazing speed is kind of made up by the fact that it can boost its own speed with Rapid Spin. So if you're using a team that doesn't want rocks on the battlefield, like if you have a lot of fire and flying types on your team and you have Excadrill, you can use Rapid Spin, which would boost your speed. And then you're faster than most things, and with that massive attack stat and really good coverage with Stab, you're a pretty big threat at that point. So Excadrill can be a really interesting utility Pokemon, as well as being an offensive threat in its own right. So Stealth Rock, you know, no explanation needed. Then we've got Iron Head and Earthquake, 2 great stab moves. For Terra types, I went Terra Water. I just felt like that's a really solid Terra type. Obviously a defensive Terra type. It changes your weakness to water into a resistance, and it also kind of removes those weaknesses from like fighting and ground and stuff like that. But if you want to go offensive Terra type, you could go Terra Steel or Terra Ground. Also, if you want to swap out one of these moves like Stealth Rock or Rapid Spin, you know, Excadrill has moves like Rock Blast or Rock Slide, as well as X Scissor, which is decent coverage, and you could even go Terra Blast to complement whatever Terra type you're going. So this set though, I think is kind of the way that I want to start with Excadrill, because it's pretty well rounded. It can be a threat by itself and it can support your team. So pretty balanced stuff. It's pretty great. And then Excadrill also has Sand Rush as its ability, which when in Sandstorm will double your speed stat, which is obviously very good because, again, for the 50th time, Excadrill's attack stat is amazing. Its coverage is amazing as well. It's great offensive potential. And by doubling your speed in sand, you just are going to be faster than everything out there, and you're just going to be able to sweep the team. And as far as items are concerned, you could go... I'm sorry, real quick, going back to the previous set, as far as items, I chose Air Balloon, but I think there's a lot of options for Excadrill. There's Air Balloon, there's Loaded Dice, there's like Leftovers, Citrus Berry, there's so many options. Another item I was considering was Lumberry. There's just a lot of options. But going back to this set, I chose Loaded Dice because with Loaded Dice and Rock Blast, so with Rock Blast, Iron Head, Earthquake, and Rock Blast together have amazing coverage. I think they can hit pretty much everything in the meta for at least neutral damage. And this also helps against a big threat in the meta, which is Dragonite. So you get to break Dragonite's multi-scale with Rock Blast and potentially kill it. Like if it does not terastallize, you easily kill Dragonite with Rock Blast. Even if it does terastallize though, you get to break the multi-scale and do a lot of damage with that. So I think Loaded Dice is a really good item on Excadrill if you're running Rock Blast, because even though it's not stab, Rock Blast does complement Earthquake, again, really well as far as coverage is concerned. I also I chose Swords Dance, though you could go like Terra Blast. I mean, there's a lot of options. You can go Rapid Spin, which might be weird. You could go Stealth Rock. There's a lot of options for that fourth move there, but Swords Dance just really increases my ability to sweep. Obviously, if you're running Sand Rush, you're going to be running like Tyranitar or Hippowdon on your team, each of which is also a pretty solid Pokemon, so kind of depending on what your team needs, you could go from there. And I just went for an Adamant Nature with max speed. You can tweak the EVs as well. If you're not super concerned about Booster Energy Iron Bundle or Booster Energy Fluttermane, who are pretty prevalent, if you have other Pokemon that can deal with those Pokemon, you could even just go max HP, max speed, because even with 0 speed investment in the sand, you're still faster than everything. You are faster than, you hit 216 speed, which is faster than max speed Dragapult as well. So aside from Choice Scarf Pokemon, or again, Paradox Pokemon with booster energy, you're faster than everything. So it is possible to go max HP, max attack. And I think in the sand, Excadrill is going to be forcing a lot of switches as well. So like you could like switch into a Goldango or something and force them to switch out, maybe set up a Swords Dance while they switch, and then just kind of go from there. So again, there's so much flexibility with Excadrill. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. Sorry, something else I forgot to mention with the previous set with Mold Breaker. Mold Breaker is also an amazing ability in the meta because it ignores abilities. So for example, if you're up against a Mimikyu, which is not as common a Pokemon anymore, but with Mimikyu, you ignore Disguise, so you just cleanly one-hit KO it with Iron Head because of Mold Breaker. Mold Breaker is also fantastic against Dragonite because it ignores multi-scale. So yeah, Mold Breaker is just a great ability as well. So there's Excadrill. I only have 2 sets here, but I talked a lot about it because I think it just has a lot of potential. I think it's a fantastic Pokemon, and it feels like you kind of can't go wrong having it on your team. The next Pokemon I'm excited to talk about is Latios, and Latios is a Pokemon that honestly was not amazing in Sword and Shield. I don't think Latios has been that good for a little while, but I think with this new meta, there's a couple things that it gets that really help it and actually make it a huge threat. So looking at its stats, first of all, it's fast, it's got a high special attack stat, so it's able to do a lot of damage. The big downsides to it are, though, despite the fact that it's really fast, it's not as fast as the best things in the meta. So, and very importantly here, its typing is pretty bad defensively in this meta. It's weak to, as a Dragon and Psychic type, it's weak to Ghost, it's weak to Fairy, it's weak to Ice, it's weak to Dark, it's weak to Dragon. And if you look at some of the best Pokemon in the meta, as I always say, Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, Goldango, Dragonite, Iron Bundle, every single one of those Pokemon, which are extremely common Pokemon, have at least one move that's going to absolutely destroy you as Latios. So that's the biggest thing about Latios that I'm really not sure about, because those are extremely common threats, and I expect they're going to continue to be extremely common with the new meta. But one big thing is that Latios has Levitate, and if you go like Terra Electric or Terra Steel or Terra Poison, you remove that you do not have that ground type weakness because you have Levitate. So you could go Terra Electric, which is what I have here, and you have 0 weaknesses at that point. So you have 0 weaknesses and you're decently fast and you hit really hard and you have perfect coverage. That's a lot. I think that Latios has a lot going for it because of those things. You know, in the very early days of Scarlet and Violet Battle Stadium singles, Hydreigon was one of the best Pokemon in the meta. And a big reason for that was because it had really good coverage in its moves, really good stats, and it had Levitate. And the funny thing is, Latios' stats are better than Hydreigon in almost almost across the board. So it's a lot faster than Hydreigon, and it has a higher special attack stat. So if Hydreigon was very good in the beginning, it's possible that a Pokemon who's technically better than Hydreigon could also be good in this meta. So I like Latios here. I really want to try it out. This move set here, I have 4 moves with White Herb. I've got Draco Meteor, Luster Purge, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam. Thunderbolt and Ice Beam are almost perfect coverage. Almost everything in the meta takes at least neutral damage from that combination of moves. I think one big Pokemon that doesn't is Magnezone, but Magnezone's not even that common. The funny thing here is looking at my moveset, Magnezone also actually resists all of my moves. So if you're running Latios here, you're probably going to want to pair it with a really strong fighting or ground type to scare away Magnezone. Also, Magnezone might often terrasilize. So if that's the case, you know, I think typically it goes like Terra Water, but Magnezone's not that common of a Pokemon in the first place. But these moves here are really, really strong, and they cover the metagame extremely well, except for something like Magnezone. But the other big boost that Latios got is that its signature move, Luster Purge, is now a 50% chance to lower the special defense of the opponent by 1. So, and its power got boosted to 95. So it's stronger than Psychic in every single way. Like it has more power than the move Psychic, as well as the chance to lower their special defense is 50%. So you have a coin flip to lower their special defense, which is huge. So Luster Purge is a really good move now on Latios. And Draco Meteor, I have the White Herb item, which will reset my special attack drop. So my plan with this Latios is like to, you know, terrastalize. So this is a Pokemon that you're gonna want to terrastalize because again, it's weak to just about everything in the meta. And once you terrastalize, you can just, you know, spam these really, really strong moves depending on what's in on the opponent's side and just do massive damage. So I love Latios. It's one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 3. So I'm excited to use it because, again, it wasn't that great in Sword and Shield, and I think it's looking like it's going to be pretty solid here. Just be careful with those, you know, fast Pokemon that are going to one-hit KO you with their moves. You know, make sure you get that terrastalization in. Another set I want to try out here is Calm Mind with leftovers. We've got max special attack and max speed. I've used this set in the past. I used to use this set in like Gen 6 or 7, I forgot, with Calm Mind and like Surf and Thunderbolt on a rain team, and it was really good. I really loved it. Now this time around, you know, I'm not really sure about the items. Like Calm Mind is your only means of boosting your special attack. You don't have Nasty Plot, unfortunately. That would be insane if you had Nasty Plot. So, you know, obviously Calm Mind is not amazing at boosting your attack, or your special attack, but, you know, so leftovers might not be the item you want. I also went Terra Fire here, which covers those moves perfectly, so Magnezone is no longer a problem. And Terra Fire is also a really good type for Latios because Fire is a great offensive type. It's also a solid defensive type. It resists Ice, it resists Fairy, so it kind of removes a couple of your important weaknesses. And Fire is just a good offensive type as well. So, you know, you could even go Terra Fire with the previous set and swap out either Draco Meteor or Luster Purge for Terra Blast in the previous set that I showed you. So a lot of options here, like I said. Calm Mind's pretty good. And then the final set I want to talk about here is Dragon Dance. So with these assets that Latios has, its attack stat is not great, but its speed stat is good. It also does have access to Dragon Dance. And if you go Terra Electric, once again, you do not have any weaknesses. So this makes Latios into a pretty solid threat. Now, of course, you could go max attack and max speed. You could go like max HP and max speed if you want. This time around, I just tweaked the EV so that I have max attack with an Adamant Nature just to hit as hard as possible, especially after one Dragon Dance. And then from there, I put just enough speed to outspeed non-booster energy Iron Bundle and Flutter Mane after a Dragon Dance. So if they have booster energy, you're not in a great spot, but if they don't have it, you know, you're good to go. I don't have Terra Blast on this set. You could run Terra Blast, but Scale Shot also seems good with the loaded dice, and then Zen Headbutt just for good coverage. From there, Earthquake also felt like good coverage as well, so you could swap out one of these moves for a Terra Blast. You definitely do not want to swap out Dragon Dance because that's the whole point of this set, but if you want to try out, like, I know there's better Dragon Dancers in the meta, but the fact that you have Levitate and you could possibly have 0 weaknesses, and you have loaded dice with Scale Shot, like, this thing offers slightly different, you know, points that Dragonite doesn't, although honestly at the end of the day Dragonite is probably better as a Dragon Dance sweeper, so you know, I just wanted to suggest this set because it looks fun. Let's go to the next Pokemon. Alright, the next Pokemon here is Serperior. Serperior is back after a long hiatus. The last time it was allowed in Battle Stadium was in Gen 7. Of course it did not exist in Sword and Shield, so we never got to try it out with Sword and Shield's mechanics, but this time around, I think it looks really promising. Obviously, the big thing with Serperior is its ability Contrary, which instead of, when it would have its stats lowered, instead they are raised and vice versa. So obviously the big move to pair it with is Leaf Storm, because what happens with Contrary and Leaf Storm is when you use Leaf Storm, instead of having your special attack drop by 2, it raises by 2, so you use Leaf Storm and you basically get a free Nasty Plot, which is insane. And the more you use it, the more you're boosting your special attack, so you are proactively boosting your special attack stat while doing significant damage. Now, Grass is honestly not an amazing typing, so you definitely need to pair it with something like Fire or Dragon. It does learn Dragon Pulse. Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, and Terra Fire, Terra Blast, are pretty solid coverage, so that's a good suggestion to try out. However, in this set, I'm actually trying a bulky set, because the thing about Serperior, which is pretty interesting, is as you can see, its stat distribution is a little weird. It's got decent HP, it's got high defense and special defense, and its attack and special attack are not very good. And it also has a really high speed stat. Well, I guess in this meta it's not amazing, but so it actually is a bulky, fast Pokemon, which is really weird. But with Contrary, Leaf Storm, you boost your special attack for free, so it's pretty insane. These moves here, I have Glare, Synthesis, Leaf Storm, and Terra Blast with Terra Fire. Grass and Fire are really good coverage together, although you just need to watch out for dragon types like Dragonite. Dragonite is a real nightmare for you, so you either hope that they terrestrialize, or you can run Dragon Pulse in place of Synthesis or Glare, or you can just, you know, cross your fingers, I guess. But Dragonite is going to be a problem if it does not terrestrialize. Otherwise, everything else is pretty easy to handle. You just use Glare to paralyze them, which lets you handle faster threats. And then Synthesis is there to kind of recover health. Now, I wanted to go bulky here, max HP and almost max defense, just to, you know, take hits from as many things as possible. And then again, we are proactively boosting our special attack, so it kind of feels like you get to cover every angle here. You get to be super tanky while also doing a lot of damage over the course of the battle. And I calced it. The reason for the EV spread here is because I wanted to run like max HP and max defense, but I calced it, and with just 4 special attack EVs, I believe you 2-hit KO Fluttermane with Leaf Storm. So you use Leaf Storm on Fluttermane, you boost your special attack, and then when you use Leaf Storm again, it faints. Obviously, Iron Bundle's also weak to Leaf Storm, so you got a lot going for you here. I'm running Covert Cloak specifically for like Iron Bundle and Fluttermane because, again, we're pretty decent against them, so we want to just make sure that we don't get the special attack drop from Moonblast from Fluttermane, or the potential freeze from Freeze Dry on Iron Bundle. It also prevents flinching and stuff like that, so I just thought Covert Cloak seemed like a good item. You could go Leftovers, you could go like Citrus Berry, you know, stuff like that. You could tweak the EVs if you want like max HP and max speed, which makes it a little easier to handle like booster energy Pokemon once you glare them, but I don't know, I just really like this set. It feels like you're just kind of doing the best of what you can. Obviously, you're not hitting that hard until you've gotten a few Leaf Storm boosts, but once you do, this thing is very scary. And the other set we have here is just kind of purely offensive, max special attack, max speed. We've got Glare, Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, Terra Blast with Terra Fire. As far as Terra types, you can go with a lot of different things, because that's the thing about Serperior. It learns Leaf Storm and it learns Dragon Pulse. Beyond that, it has like 0 coverage. So that's why you need to use that Terra type to kind of balance out your coverage. Leaf Storm and Dragon Pulse is already decent coverage together, so from there you would need something like Fire or Ground to hit Steel types, because otherwise those are going to give you a big big problem, but I really like Terra Fire, which is why I keep running it. And then we have Glare once again. You could swap out Glare for something like Leech Seed or Giga Drain or something, which I don't think is super necessary. Glare's just a solid move. So as far as other options for Serperior, I have a few right here, and like I said, its move pool is not very deep, so it really doesn't have all that much going for it aside from Contrary and Leaf Storm, which is really powerful. You've got Dragon Tail, which of course plays off of your weaker attack stat. I mean, it's not weaker, it's the same as its special attack, but since you get to boost your special attack with Leaf Storm, you're not doing as much damage with your physical attacks, but Dragon Tail's still a solid move. You also have like Knockoff and like Iron Tail and stuff like that, but I still don't think those are fantastic. Those are just like sub options if, you know, all you need to do is spam Leaf Storm and then you just want to fill out your moveset with other random stuff. You also have Leech Seed, which you can also pair with Substitute, which is pretty good because you do have a pretty decent speed stat, and it's always nice to have fast Pokemon with Leech Seed and Substitute. So that's another option. You also have Taunt, as well as the screens, Reflect and Light Screen. So, and then if you run the screens, you can run Light Clay as an item, which allows them to stay around for longer. So a lot of pretty solid options as a support Pokemon. You know, this is a really interesting and funny Pokemon to me because it can play as a support role because it has a lot of support options, but it also can be a sweeper. So I'm excited to use Serperior, and let's go to the next one. All right, the next Pokemon here, number 4, again, this is not in any particular order, but we have another starter that I actually think it's another one that when you look at it, it doesn't look super crazy good or anything, but this is a Pokemon that has been consistently strong in previous generations, and that is Swampert right here. So Swampert's stats, if you look right there at the bottom, its stats are really well-rounded as well. It's got a high HP stat, high attack, and then pretty high defenses as well. Now the sad thing is Swampert does not get Scald any longer. Let me just kind of double check that just to be sure, because it used to have Scald, and then in this generation, sadly, they really scaled back the number of Pokemon that get access to Scald. And I would say Scald was probably the main reason to run mixed sets on Swampert, which was pretty viable. You could run Earthquake and Scald, and often that was really all you needed as far as offense goes. This time around, I don't know that you really need to run mixed, because then you're going to be lowering your speed, which, I mean, Swampert's speed stat is not particularly great, so if you still want to run a mixed set, you could run like Earthquake and Ice Beam, or Earthquake and Surf, or something like that, and then just run like a Relaxed or a Sassy nature, or just run a nature that lowers your speed, because then it's not lowering your special attack. But this is kind of where I'm starting with Swampert as like a lead type set, and it's very reminiscent of a Pokemon like Hippowdon, which has consistently been a very strong Pokemon in Battle Stadium singles, because it's really tanky, it can set up Stealth Rock, it can Yawn, which forces the opponents to switch around. And Swampert has similar roles. Swampert doesn't have Sandstorm, which sucks, but what it makes up for in that is kind of its power and its better coverage. Actually, you know, the funny thing is I actually think Hippowdon has a higher attack stat. So I guess if you're gonna use Swampert, you might want to try to use it for its own merits rather than trying to use it as a replacement for Hippowdon. One big asset that Swampert has, one big asset, is that it's a water and ground type, which is a really, really great typing defensively because it's only weak to grass. And of course, with Terastallizing, you can really throw your opponent off if you expect them to use a grass type move on you. You can go Terra Fire or Terra Grass even to really completely change your type and kind of throw the opponent off, because otherwise Swampert takes neutral damage from everything else, and it takes that damage pretty well. So this is kind of, like I said, the starting set that I'm looking at here. A few other spreads, because typically you're going to want to go max HP because Swampert's speed is not that high, so you're not really trying to outspeed stuff, you're just trying to tank hits. This was my other variation of a Stealth Rock set, a Stealth Rock lead set, which is max HP, max defense, and then Stealth Rock, Yawn, Earthquake, and Roar. The difference here is that we have Flip Turn on this set, whereas we have Roar on this one. There's a lot of options. I mean, Swampert's move pool is pretty well rounded as well, so you can customize it how you want. There's Knockoff, there's Ice Punch, there's Poison Jab, I guess, if you want that. Again, there's a lot of choices to make. And like I said, if you want to go Relaxed and then throw on a special move there, you also have that option. So Swampert's pretty cool. Then we have a Choice Banded set here, which I really like because Swampert ends up being this really interesting Pokemon with a unique combination of kind of skills and abilities, which has, again, a pretty high attack stat, great typing, and it has access to Flip Turn, which is a water type U-turn. Unfortunately, it's a little less powerful than U-turn, but you know, it's a water type move, which makes it even better. And then you have three other moves to cover that. This is another good set for Swampert. If Swampert becomes a little bit more popular in the meta and everyone's expecting it to run like Stealth Rocks, like a lead set, you could run Choice Band and just really surprise your opponent with a lot of damage. And you don't really lose anything by doing this because, you know, with Swampert, once again, for the 50th time, you can switch in really easily because you have great defenses and a great typing. And then you can just get that momentum with Flip Turn. So if you expect the opponent to switch, you can Flip Turn and you get the momentum into going into the Pokemon that benefits from the situation. So, for example, if you have Swampert out against your opponent's, I don't know, Urshifu, and your opponent is worried that you're going to tank all their hits and do a lot of damage to them, they might switch out. Let's say they switch out into Serperior, and if you go for Flip Turn, you get off a little bit of damage on the Serperior, and you get to switch into something that can beat Serperior. So I really like this set for Swampert, and again, its combination of power and good bulk and good typing just really make it a great user of Choice Band with Flip Turn. Finally, we have this set here, which is another kind of experimental set. It's another kind of theorizing set, but I think it has a lot of potential. I think Swampert has a lot of potential once again as a bulk up Pokemon. So I have Leftovers as the item. You can also go Citrus Berry or like Feigy Berry or Iapapa Berry, those types of berries if you want. I think Citrus is better, but it's between Citrus Berry and Leftovers, I would say. And then you just set up bulk ups and then just do a lot of damage with your moves. I mean, Earthquake and Liquidation are a given. You could run Terra Blast if you're running Terra Grass or something to kind of cover other things. And yeah, I mean, the goal for this set is to just utilize your great defensive typing to either force switches or just tank hits while setting up bulk ups. And then once you set up a couple bulk ups, you're going to be able to take on a lot of things really, really well. So I do think Swampert is a great user of bulk up. And honestly, overall, I'm just excited to try out Swampert because, like I said, all of these sets here look really good. And I think there's a lot of promise with Swampert. Now, as far as Terra types go, you know, I've talked a little bit about this. Terra Water is a good one because water is just a great type overall. And it does give you another weakness in the form of electric, but it also makes your grass type weakness a little more manageable. And it lets you do more damage with your water moves. Terra Ground, kind of the flip side of that, is also a great option. Terra Grass, like I said, is probably one of your best options because it completely resists grass type moves that you would otherwise be weak to. It also prevents you from being put to sleep with Spore and stuff like that. So that's another option as well. Terra Fairy is also always just a really solid option for bulky Pokemon because Fairy is just a fantastic typing. Again, there's just so many different options, so I think you should choose the Terra type that benefits your team situation the most and just go from there. But personally, I would personally lean towards grass or water, but again, it really depends on the situation. So that's Swampert, and let's get to the last Pokemon here. And finally, we have the last Pokemon in the meta that I'm excited for. I might do another video of these. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. If enough people say that they're interested in hearing about more Pokemon. I mean, there's plenty of new Pokemon coming to the Battle Stadium singles format. So, you know, I have many more. I have more than just 5 more that I'm excited for. So if you're interested, let me know, and I might do another video with 5 more Pokemon that I'm excited to use. But the next one here we have is Archaludon. I'm just going to say Archaludon. This is, of course, the evolved form of Duraludon. We don't have a little picture there. I'll probably put one up on the screen right here. And it's a really good Pokemon. When I first jumped into the DLC and I battled Drayton, the Dragon type Elite Four member, I didn't realize this Pokemon had Stamina as its ability. And Stamina is pretty insane. Whenever the Pokemon with Stamina is hit with a damaging move, its defense gets boosted by 1 stage. So I think the only other Pokemon that had this ability before was Mudbray and Mudsdale. And it was pretty decent, honestly. In Gen 7, it was a pretty solid tanky Pokemon. I think Archaludon is just better. It has a higher defense stat, and its typing is actually really, really good. Dragon and Steel is an amazing typing that covers a lot of weaknesses really well. And if you can switch this in on a weak attack, like a weak physical attack or a resisted move, or even a weak special attack, you get a free defense boost, which is pretty insane. So kind of the starting point that I have here, and this is another Pokemon that has a lot of things going for it, and I'm not 100% sure like exactly where I want to start with it. I think this is looking like where I'm going to want to start with this Pokemon though. We have Assault Vest, and I'm just running max HP and max special defense because as you can see, its special defense is not great at all. And similar, we have a Pokemon like Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is a pretty prevalent threat in the meta right now. And one of its most common sets is Assault Vest, and it runs like max special attack and max special defense with Assault Vest, which is interesting because, you know, typically you don't run like max special defense and max special attack, but it already, Ursaluna already has a good HP stat, whereas Archaludon, its HP is okay. If you go max HP, you have a better time tanking hits, obviously, but its HP stat, base 90, is not amazing. It's good though, it's not bad. And then you definitely want to invest in special defense if you're going this route, because then you end up taking special hits really well. And, you know, I think a couple Pokemon that are going to give you trouble are going to be Fluttermane and Iron Bundle, because those are really strong special attackers. However, we take neutral damage from their moves, and we can do a lot of damage back to them. So I actually think they're not that big of a threat for us. If we have the Assault Vest and max special attack, or I'm sorry, max special defense, and then all the physical attackers, once we get one stamina boost, we're able to tank hits for days. And that's why I like Terra Fairy on this set, because we're typically weak to fighting, and that turns it into a resistance when we terrestrialize. And overall, Fairy is just a fantastic Terra type, as I said previously. So the moves we have here, we have Dragon Pulse, Flash Cannon, Aura Sphere, and Electro Shot. Electro Shot is Archaludon's exclusive signature move, and it's a 2-turn move. It's kind of like the move Meteor Beam, if you remember that one. It's a 2-turn move. The first turn you boost your special attack by 1 stage, and then the second turn you do damage to them. And as you can see, it has 130 base power, and it's an electric type move, so it's stronger than Thunder, which is pretty insane. But of course it does take 2 turns to do damage to them. But as it says here, in Rain there's no charge, so in Rain you get to boost your special attack and do 130 base damage to them in 1 turn. So this is a great Pokemon to pair on a Rain team if you want to build a Rain team. I think that's fantastic. And again, I'm just looking for the moves here. I think as far as special attacks go, these are kind of the main ones. Of course, you could always run Terra Blast to pair it with your Terra type, but I think these 4 moves have great coverage together that you don't really need that. And Fairy's just a great defensive Terra type. You don't need it to be offensive. So yeah, I mean, this is probably a really solid set for Archaludon, and if you can take care of their special attackers early, or if their special attackers are not setting up like Calm Minds or anything like that, you should be able to tank hits from almost everything. The big downside to this set is you don't have a lot of recovery. You actually don't have any recovery, so your goal is just to kind of stay in against physical attackers and just incrementally boost your stats or your defense, and then also just do a lot of damage. So again, just keep that in mind. You don't have a lot of defense, or I'm sorry, you don't have a lot of healing for this set. Which brings me to the next set. No, I'm sorry, actually that's the next one is the one I wanted to talk about. This set here is just purely offensive, so max special attack with a modest nature. We have the Power Herb item, which is the item that will let us use our 2-turn moves immediately. So even if we are not in Rain, we can just use Electro Shot in 1 go. And then, like I said, these moves complement each other really nicely. Another good item for this Pokemon is White Herb, or the Eject button. No, I'm sorry, the Eject Pack, because of Draco Meteor. So when you lower your special attack with the White Herb, it'll reset, so you can use it again. And with the Eject Pack, once you use Draco Meteor, you automatically get to switch out. However, with Electro Shot and the Power Herb, again, you get to use this Electro Shot in one go, boost your special attack and damage them in 1 go, and then you can use Draco Meteor after that. And you know, yes, you'll lower your special attack, but you'll only effectively be lowering it by 1 stage because you will have already boosted it by 1, if that makes any sense. So again, this Pokemon, I think there's a lot going for it, and this is another Pokemon where you can kind of tweak these EVs and the moves and all of that to kind of fit your team to the best of your ability. You could go like max special attack and max speed. That's always a solid option, but what I wanted to do here, actually notably, 85 I believe is 1 point higher than Goldango, so if you want to outspeed you know, Goldangos, you could possibly go timid nature with max special attack, or I'm sorry, max speed. But you also don't really have that many moves to hit Goldango really hard, so I guess Electroshot is decent against that, but I would personally just kind of run this set if you're going offensive. These EVs let you outspeed, I believe, Dragonite. I believe Adamant Dragonite with max speed, you are faster than. So that's interesting, I guess. That's something that's worth considering. And then the rest of it, we have an HP just to tank hits. Stamina is just its best ability. I guess if you're running offensive, you could run Sturdy, which is also not a bad ability at all. But Stamina is just so good. And then Stalwart is absolutely useless in singles, so just ignore that one. Finally, we have what I'm really excited for, which is a Body Press Iron Defense set. The downside to this set here, so it's max HP, max defense. We have just about no special defense at this point, so be careful with this set. You know, if you're gonna run this set, just be aware that you're probably not gonna survive against really strong special attackers, but if the opponent has a lot of physical attackers, this set looks amazing. So if you get damaged by a move, the stamina will boost your defense by 1 stage, and then you can click Iron Defense to boost your defense by 2 stages, and then once you do that, your body presses will be hitting insanely hard. You end up being probably the best body press Pokemon in the game, because again, you already have a really high defense stat, and once you have like +3 defense, which is pretty incidental, like if you go Iron Defense and your opponent hits you with a physical move, you're at +3 defense and you're taking hits from them all day at that point, and then your body press is going to do insane damage. I mean, if you just use Iron Defense once, you're basically hitting body press from a 400 base defense stat, which is kind of like hitting a fighting type move from a 400 base attack stat, if that puts it into some perspective. And then here, as you can see, this is kind of weird because we're running Flash Cannon as well for coverage and for stab, but I'm still running a Bold Natured, which lowers my attack, because of course we still do not need our attack stat, because Body Press again goes off of our defense stat, not our attack stat, so we do not need our attack stat at all. And then the fourth move, there's a lot of options. I chose Thunder Wave because I think it helps me against Pokemon that would otherwise maybe give me trouble. Dragon Pulse can be a good option. We have Flash Cannon. Terra Blast could be a good option, although if you run Terra Blast, you're going to want to not run Terra Fighting. You can run Stealth Rock, stuff like that. So there are some options. You could run Electro Shot if you want, but I think I like Thunder Wave personally. And then for items, you could go Leftovers, or you could also go Citrus Berry. I guess another move you could run is Protect if you're running Leftovers, because that lets you kind of stall out some Leftovers recovery, but obviously Terra Fighting here is more for offensive purposes, because if you Terrasilize into a fighting type, your body presses are going to do even more damage with stab. So yeah, that is Archaludon, and that is another Pokemon that I'm really excited to use, and this is my collection of 5 Pokemon that I'm really excited to use in the upcoming Battle Stadium singles metagame. It's fast approaching, it's only a few days away, so let me know in the comments which of these Pokemon you're most excited for, and which Pokemon in general are you most excited to use in the new season, in the new format. I have like 4 or 5 teams built, or that I put together on Showdown, and I think I have 2 or 3 of them already built in my game, so I'm just going to start making new teams and making a lot of videos when the new season starts, because I'm super excited, and I'm definitely going to be trying out a lot of these Pokemon that I'm showing you, as well as a couple Pokemon that I haven't talked about yet. It's going to be a fun time, so let me know in the comments what you thought. Please leave a like and subscribe for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet videos, and I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great new year. I think I'm going to be uploading this on New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you have a great new year. And if you see it after New Year's, I hope you had a great New Year's Eve, and I hope your new year continues to be great. So have a great one, and I'll talk to you later.